Welcome to the Blast Zone, the podcast where we dig up the bombs that shook Hollywood and try to find out why they went up in flames. This week, new Avengers assemble for some group trauma dumping. This is Thunderbolts. Welcome to the Blast Zone.
Welcome to the Blast Zone.
We are not a podcast about bad movies. We are a podcast about movies that did badly.
That's right.
I'm Jon Drake, in-house film critic of my Letterboxd account.
And I'm Ian Dukes. I'm a person with thoughts and feelings, and some of them are about movies.
Movies like Thunderbolts Asterisks, which we're going to be talking about today. Before we get into that, Ian, how are you doing this week?
Well, I've got interesting health news, mental health news. I often feel like I want to share things like this with listeners, just in the hope of making health issues less isolating and easier for everyone to talk about. I was just diagnosed with ADHD.
Hey!
I mean, I kind of diagnosed myself. The internet diagnosed me a little while ago, but this time it was a real doctor that did it. He had a license to practice psychiatry and everything. So
fancy.
It's kind of mixed feelings for me. I think maybe I hoped that the stuff I was dealing with was more of a temporary nature or like a fixable nature. But as with most things health related, I do believe it's better to know what you're dealing with than to avoid finding out. And yeah, I feel like getting a diagnosis is definitely not the end of anything. It's the start of a chapter of hopefully finding my way to better tools and strategies to deal with whatever holds me back.
Yeah, that's like they say, the more you know.
Yeah.
You've got knowledge on your side now to battle these very obnoxious symptoms of ADHD, which I myself have also been diagnosed with for a couple of years now.
Yeah, you're someone that I talked to about it, and now we're ADHD bros.
ADHD bros! It is good, though, that you went to a psychiatrist and actually got diagnosed, because now you have access to, like, medicine. And getting Adderall has been the most difficult part of being diagnosed with ADHD.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's been very hard to find pharmacies that have it in stock and will fill prescriptions for new patients. I've had to bounce around a little bit, which has led to me not taking it as regularly as I would like to, because I'm always scared. What if I just completely run out? So I always try to keep some in reserve.
Oh, yeah, that sucks. You got to kind of ration yourself.
Yeah, so let me know how yours works out.
My doctor so far said, no drugs for you, because the other stuff I have, like high blood pressure and POTS, he's like, these drugs aren't safe for you. We'll have to not do drugs.
Right.
Okay.
Fat chance, buddy.
It's kind of a wait and see whether we find another med to take that is recommended, or I just like really get my blood pressure, which is minimally elevated. I feel like if I just did more cardio and just walked a healthy, good amount, I could probably get that back down to a totally normal, safe range.
Yeah, it might be worth a shot.
And walking is good for your mental health too, so there's no reason not to do it.
Well, there is a reason not to do it where I live, because it's been like 7 degrees some mornings this week. But today was quite warm, so I got outside a little bit. And,
nice.
Did some yard work and went out to the grocery store.
Wow.
You know, but we did get some feedback on our Eddington episode. You know, we praised Ari Aster himself for being quite prescient about some issues that would be going on in America, even though he made the movie almost a year ago. And then we recorded that in the middle of December. And I said, by the time this episode comes out, maybe we'll be at war with Venezuela. So
what do you know? The prescience rubbed off from Ari Aster to you.
So I want to keep this going, and I want to make another prediction for when this episode comes out, which will be January 14th. Things in America are still going to be an utter shit show.
Bold.
I'm putting myself out there with this one.
Out on a limb with that.
We'll just have to see if it comes true.
Next time, maybe we do something lottery related or something that'll actually benefit us.
I think if I just parlay this one prediction for the next several years, I'll be pretty safe. So yeah, that's all the current events I want to talk about right now. Otherwise, I will harm myself and others. So Ian, did you happen to watch anything since the last episode that you want to tell the listeners about?
I did. I watched Steve, and not just my neighbor Steve, but a movie called Steve. It's a pretty new movie. It premiered last year at TIFF and had a very small international theatrical run before it was put out on Netflix back in October. I hadn't even heard of it till it popped up on my Netflix, and I just clicked on it. And then right away, I saw Cillian Murphy in it, and his performance hooked me in. I was like, oh, I guess I'm watching this. What's interesting is later I found out it really ties into the last Cillian joint, which I previously brought into Show and Tell, called Small Things Like These, which came out last year.
It always reminds me of that tweet that's like, every book is either The Miniature Wife or The Tiny Things We Know to Be Small.
It's definitely one of those. And this movie, Steve, like Small Things Like These, was also directed by the same director, a Belgian director named Tim Milans. It was also produced by Cillian's production company, and both of them were adapted from brand new contemporary novels, works of literary fiction. So I just think that's really cool that Cillian is out there like checking out new books that come out and optioning them and making them into movies where he gets to star in them. And it's funny because the last two things that I saw Cillian Murphy in were Small Things and Oppenheimer. And in those movies, he plays two of the most stoic, quiet, emotionally bottled up men you would ever meet. So what's really fun when you turn on Steve is that the main character, who's the headmaster of a reform school for troubled teen boys, is incredibly emotionally volatile and expressive. That's his whole thing, that he's like a loose cannon. So it's really really fun to see Killian being big and wild and mercurial on screen. Great performance from him, the whole cast, all the young actors who played these troubled boys, which can be really challenging to portray on screen in a way that's authentic and not cheesy. They did a really nice job. It's a cool little movie.
Nice. I have to admit, when you first told me that you were bringing the movie Steve, my brain immediately went to All About Steve, which, if you remember, was the 2009 romantic comedy with Sandra Bullock and Bradley Cooper.
Oh, okay.
Famously terrible. I think it had a 7% on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that.
Okay.
And I just looked it up to see it actually made too much money for us to talk about. So thank God.
Goodness.
I was like, what is Ian doing watching this? And then you were like, yeah, Killian's back with this director. And I was like, oh, okay, this is not the movie I was thinking of. That's good.
A little better than that. It's still kind of niche. It's definitely an indie drama. It's a movie that's about people and relationships and feelings and not about a big plot or anything very Hollywood. But if you're into that kind of thing, it's pretty fun.
I also watched a movie that's about people and relationships and feelings and ping pong, or I'm sorry, Marty would prefer table tennis to be the chosen vernacular. But I took my ass to the movie theater and watched Marty Supreme this week.
That's cool.
Now, you would know that the listeners wouldn't, but you would, that I had tickets to see it last week and then there was a snowstorm. So I missed out. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to make an effort to actually get to the theater and see this and not let Mother Nature stifle my good times.
It took a real second effort. You got bottled up at the line of scrimmage and you kept the legs pumping and you got the first down. That's awesome.
You couldn't come up with a table tennis analogy for this? Like,
that was all that came to mind.
I was down, I don't know, tennis scoring very well at all.
Yeah.
Anyway, Marty Supreme. I mean, it's exactly what you expect for a Safdie brothers movie set in 1950s New York about a real egotistical, psychotic table tennis player who's apparently based on a real guy.
Interesting.
There was like a Marty Supreme. Hold on, let me find his real name. Yeah, so Marty Reisman was the real Marty Supreme, not Marty Mauser, as he is named in this movie, played by Timothy Chalamet.
Okay.
The best way I could describe it is like, what if After Hours heavily featured ping pong? It's just like an odyssey into the weird parts of New York, but all of that is filtered through the world of table tennis and this guy trying to become not just like the best table tennis player in the world, but also like a star. And table tennis has never really caught on in America to that degree. It's very popular in parts of Europe and especially in Asia.
Sure.
So he's trying to basically leverage the fact that America is an untapped market for table tennis into getting special treatment from all the governing bodies of the sport. He's dealing with interpersonal drama with his family, with his quote unquote girlfriend, paramour, I guess you would say.
Okay.
And he's also just a fucking insane person. So it's got that real kinetic, fast energy you expect from the Safdies. Mm-hmm. Timothy Chalamet, he gets a lot of criticism for just playing Timothy Chalamet in most of his movies these days. But you know what? I dig it. I think that's a fun character to watch. He's definitely not breaking a ton of new ground with this character, but he's very comfortable in that role and it shows. You get the sense that he's improvising a lot of stuff, even if he wasn't. It feels natural and off the cuff. Just a really fun movie. And even, what's his stupid face? Kevin O'Leary manages to acquit himself nicely. I was concerned that he would stick out and be terrible. But Josh Safdie apparently just told him, like, you're the richest man in New York and you're a big piece of shit. Except for the fact that Kevin O'Leary is Canadian. I feel like we're covering ground that he's very familiar with.
Oh, yeah. In his comfort zone.
Not struggling with that at all. I really liked it. I will definitely rewatch it when it hits home. It's 2.5 hours, but you really don't feel it. It's very well paced. It kind of flies by.
That's great news. I was already excited for it. I'm kind of a Chalamet fan, and the marketing campaign for this movie was just top notch. Like,
yes.
In this day and age when people are so jaded and nothing surprises any kind of marketing stunt or bits that you try to do, people are just blasé about it. This one actually was like, oh, this feels fresh and interesting. Whoever is responsible for this movie has some kind of creative spark that makes it stand out and makes it worth seeing.
And it's paid off. It's a moneymaker.
Oh, nice.
At a time when these kind of expensive, character-driven, non-IP movies are always a risk, Marty Supreme is making money. So
nice.
It's good to see.
You love to see it.
Speaking of making money, this week's movie didn't make enough of it.
No, it made a shit ton, but it was not enough.
Still not enough.
Because that's the way the economics work.
It turns out when you spend $200 million on all your movies, you got to make a lot of money to turn a profit. And of course, we're referring to Thunderbolts Asterisk, or if you prefer, the new Avengers. I would ask you what your relationship is with this movie, but bad-eared listeners will remember that you went to the premiere of Thunderbolts.
Yeah, that was neat. That was special. That's not something I get to do just because I live near the theaters. I went to the Dolby Theater last April. All the stars were there. They came on stage to introduce the movie. They were all looking glamorous and Hollywood fabulous. And I got to eat popcorn out of a Thunderbolts Wheaties box, which, I don't know, did we post that in the show notes last time when I brought it for show and tell?
I don't think so. Maybe we should this time.
Maybe we'll put that picture up because it's cool. There's an actual tie-in to it in the movie.
Yes.
At the time, I liked the movie when I saw it at the premiere, but I looked back at what I said about it then, and my main observation was that it was very loud.
It sounds like the theater's issue more than the movie.
Yeah, that's kind of revealing myself that I don't go out to the big theaters very often. Watching it again at a more reasonable home volume level, I actually liked it more because my favorite stuff in this movie are the quiet parts, the emotional story of the Yelena character, the great performance that Florence Pugh gives. So yeah, I'm even more of a fan of the movie now.
I watched it not quite as early as you did, but as soon as it was available to watch at home, I checked it out. I actually tried to go see it in movie theaters when it was towards the end of its theatrical run. And I guess it had one of those, either people were panicking because they thought it was going to get taken out of theaters really soon, so they all rushed to see it, or it was just developing a good word of mouth because we went out to dinner first. And then when I went to buy the tickets on my phone, there were none.
Oh, wow.
Or at least none, like except for the very front row and not 4 seats together because I was with 3 other people.
Interesting.
You were just like, we're shit out of luck. And when I did watch it at home, I liked it too. It's a good movie, I think. It succeeds primarily because I think it skirts the conventions of the MCU in a lot of ways, which is maybe a troubling outlook for the rest of the MCU, but it makes this movie feel distinct and interesting and unique.
I agree with your point to a certain extent. My initial impression when I first saw the movie was I thought it was going to break the conventions even more. And I came out of there going, oh yeah, it's got some fun spunk to it and some unique stuff and a very human story that they don't all seem to have anymore. But I'm like, but it's pretty conventional. It still gives you all the Marvel stuff. It gives you huge spectacle and special effects and loud explosions and all that stuff. So I was left wondering, did it err on one side or the other? Were audiences based on the advertising thinking they were going to see something really subversive that wasn't even like other Marvel movies they saw, and then they weren't happy when it was too Marvel-y? Or were they still in that mold of just, I just want Robert Downey Jr. quipping and a lot of CGI shit on screen, and they didn't get enough of that? I'm not sure.
The MCU is interesting in that respect because I don't really think, and this is obviously conjecture, I don't have stats or figures to back this up, but I think more so than with other sequels, the movies that are currently out are always either paying for the sins or reaping the rewards of what came before them.
Yeah.
So I don't think the commercial performance of Thunderbolts really had all that much to do with Thunderbolts at all. It just had to do with Eternals and the Marvels, all these kind of duds that they had put out in the last 2 years before this one came out. And people were just, all the MCU shows too, and this is heavily tied into the Disney Plus shows. A lot of these characters, you wouldn't even really know who they are if you hadn't watched any of the Disney Plus shows. So on paper, this feels like the ultimate example of, I got to do homework to see this movie and make it make sense. Now, in practice, I don't think that's what it is at all, but you can't really blame people for staying away due to that perception.
I think you've got something there. I think that's a pretty good assessment. It's just the baggage. It's just like, okay, well, there's been too many misses. I can't buy my ticket with confidence that this one will be a hit. There's been too much of that homework programming, endless series and things. You worry that you're going to be disconnected. And we could talk about it when we talk about the way the story unfolds. I had some of those worries. I had seen some of what you're supposed to see, and a lot of what I had seen had already receded far enough in my memory that I couldn't meaningfully bring back the relationship of John Walker or any of those things that maybe it helps to know a little more. But it turns out you're right. You didn't really need to know that stuff if you were just willing to go along with the movie, because the characters acquit themselves on screen in this movie pretty well.
To your point, I did not have any idea like what franchise the character of Ghost even was supposed to be from.
Oh, yeah.
And turns out she's the villain of the first Ant-Man movie, which I have seen.
Oh, shit.
But it's been like forever since I've seen it. And like her character, I don't know if she ever popped up in anything else after that. It's entirely possible, but like you're really pulling from some deep cuts here if you're giving me the secondary villain from the Ant-Man movie that's 7 or 8 years old.
We're taping the episode and I just found out that fact right now. So it clearly didn't impact my appreciation of the movie one way or another. I thought she was a fine character, but all I needed to know was like what her powers were, which you find out real quick, and what her style is, which you find out pretty fast. So
yeah, and the movie does just have a little bit of an info dump in the beginning to catch us up if we don't know who these people are. And that mostly works. It's a little clumsy, but we'll talk about it more in depth. As for now, do you want to hear how the movie got made?
Yeah, for sure. Let's hear how this thing happened.
All right. When Thunderbolts hit theaters on May 2nd, 2025, it arrived with unusually strong reviews for a late-phase Marvel film. Critics responded to its grounded tone, character-driven focus, and willingness to sit in moral ambiguity. It landed at 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, one of the higher scores of the post-Endgame era.
And how much can you expect to score after the end of the game?
But that didn't stop it from becoming one of Marvel's more quietly uncomfortable box office stories. The film cost around $180 million to produce and finished its global run at $382 million. That number would look respectable for many blockbusters, but for Marvel, it was a loss. Industry estimates put the break-even point at roughly $425 million, meaning Thunderbolts came up short by around $60 million once marketing and distribution costs were factored in. The project had been circling Marvel for years. James Gunn flirted with the idea during the production of Guardians of the Galaxy, attracted to the notion of a team made up of damaged, morally compromised characters. That interest faded once he made the Suicide Squad for DC, which filled much of the same creative space.
Took a couple tries, but they filled it.
The concept finally solidified after Black Widow, when writer Eric Pearson saw Florence Pugh's Yelena Belova as a viable lead rather than a supporting player. Pearson's approach centered on themes of isolation, depression, and trauma, rather than redemption arcs. The team was not built from villains seeking forgiveness, but from characters who had been shaped and misshapen by institutions that failed them. Yelena became the emotional anchor with figures like Bucky Barnes, John Walker, Ghost, Red Guardian, Taskmaster, and eventually Sentry forming a group defined less by chemistry than by shared damage.
It shoved them together, it just pushed them all together.
Bill Foster, aka Goliath, was briefly part of early drafts but was cut for lacking the same psychological scars that unified the rest of the roster. Jake Schreier came on board in mid-2022 and was an unusual choice for a Marvel tentpole. His feature film career was limited, but his television work on Beef demonstrated an ability to balance character, discomfort, and dark humor. His pitch impressed Marvel leadership enough that he was hired quickly, and several collaborators from Beef followed him onto the project during rewrites.
Now that they got Beef, production will be anything but smooth.
Production was anything but smooth. The 2023 writers and actors strikes delayed filming multiple times, forcing cast changes and scheduling reshuffles. Stephen Yeun exited the role of Sentry due to conflicts caused by the delays, eventually replaced by Louis Pullman. Ayo Edebiri also departed and was replaced by Geraldine Viswanathan. By the time cameras rolled in early 2024, the film had already been reshaped several times. Filming took place primarily in Atlanta, with location work in Utah chosen specifically for its sense of isolation and lack of modern visual noise. Schreier pushed for practical locations and a restrained visual language, aiming for something closer to a political thriller than a traditional Marvel spectacle.
The Thunderborn identity.
One of the film's most notable creative decisions came from Schreier's pitch himself. He suggested adding an asterisk to the title as a joke, implying the team name was provisional. Marvel fully leaned into the idea, incorporating it into marketing and eventually making it literal. After opening weekend, the studio rebranded the film as The New Avengers, effectively confirming that Thunderbolts had been a transitional identity all along. At the box office, the film started strong. It opened in first place at $74 million, easily winning its debut weekend. Its second weekend drop was steep but not catastrophic, falling 56% while holding the top spot. The real trouble came in week 3, when Final Destination Bloodlines overtook it and the film's margin over holdovers narrowed alarmingly fast. The arrival of Lilo and Stitch and Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning in its fourth weekend ended any remaining momentum. From that point forward, Thunderbolts was earning under $10 million per weekend.
Gosh, they're living giant paycheck to giant paycheck.
And was quickly labeled a financial disappointment despite its critical reception. Kevin Feige later suggested that audience hesitation stemmed from confusion over Disney Plus continuity, with some viewers believing homework was required to understand the film. Whether that explanation holds true or not, Thunderbolts became another example of Marvel discovering that strong reviews no longer guarantee strong turnout. As the final film of Phase 5,
That's a tongue twister.
Thunderbolts feels less like a conclusion than a course correction that arrived too late to matter financially. It's a movie that Marvel seemed proud of, one that critics largely embraced, and one that audiences simply did not show up for in sufficient numbers. In other words, a Marvel success story by almost every metric, except the one that unfortunately still matters most.
It's at least a sign of hopefully good things to come. This movie was still held back by its various forms of Marvel baggage that it carried, but we hope that this is the direction that they see that they want to go. Finding filmmakers who are willing to put some originality into it, some real human characters in the scripts. It's interesting because they brought Jake Schreier in, who was really like a discovery for them. I mean, he had been pretty successful in TV, but didn't have the big movie credits. And unlike they did to some other sort of up-and-coming directors, they didn't seem to squash him. Like, he survived and he created a movie that has some of his own flavor to it, I think.
Not just that, they also pegged him to helm the next X-Men movie, which is going to be the first one in the MCU. So they clearly think they found a new trusted hand to manage these properties. But it's interesting, there's only been one MCU movie since this one came out, which is nuts. We used to be getting 3 or 4 of these a year, I feel like.
I guess that's a sign of this current state of things there, is that they've realized that they can't saturate the market like they used to.
But it also makes me nervous for Avengers Doomsday, because they've got the Thunderbolts, which clearly is supposed to play an ongoing role in that whole saga. Yeah. Plus Fantastic Four now, plus the X-Men now. And then they're bringing back all the old standbys. Downey's back, whether he's playing dual roles or just Doom roles, hey, remains to be seen. But like, we know Chris Evans is coming back. It's not a leap to expect like Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly. Like, how many people are going to be in this fucking movie is my concern.
It feels more like a revival show than something fresh and new.
So that, to me, the fact that they went back and got Downey back and threw an absolute boatload of money at him to convince him to come back to the MCU tells me that I don't think they're taking good lessons from Thunderbolts. And also, we very easily could have put in Fantastic Four First Steps in this slot as well. Also a financial disappointment for them. A movie that I didn't like as much as this one, though, so I'm glad we're talking about one that I really did enjoy.
Yeah.
I liked things about Fantastic Four, but overall, I think it was a miss. But it's so weird to be like on a nostalgia tour for something that's only a few years old, but that kind of feels like where they're heading.
Yeah, and they may transcend that movie's baggage and make something really interesting and cool, but the baggage is there. Like, you and I sense it, and fans, both serious and casual of the MCU, will be like, wow, how are they going to pull this off and not have it just be a sad, old-timey nostalgia show, like you said? Like, it feels like actually cringy to try to go see that movie.
Not for nothing, but every time you hear an actor talk about it and they're like, what was your favorite part about making Avengers Doomsday? They're like, I don't know. I was just in a dark room by myself. They fed me lines through a microphone, like through an earpiece, and I said them. I was there for 4 days and I didn't see another person, and then I went home. Like,
Are they really saying that?
Yes. I think I'll see if I can find some good quotes and I'll put them in the show notes. But yeah, there's some troubling on-set details coming out through the actors that are being asked about their experience making it.
I wish them the best. I'd like it to be good.
Sure.
Like, as soon as I heard about bringing Robert Downey Jr. back and giving him a new role, like, I don't know, it's like casting an aging Bob Hope in your movie in like the 80s in some new role that you're like, oh, we got the old guy, so we still got all the old charms that everybody wants to have a laugh with. And it's like, I'm not sure we do at this point.
So my theory about what he's doing there is that they can't fully abandon the multiverse angle because they've done so much work building that up, even though it seems to not really be connecting with audiences as much as they hoped. But I'm thinking he's not playing Victor Von Doom. I think he's playing Tony Stark from another universe who maybe like broke bad at some point.
Oh, okay. That would make it more interesting.
Yeah, that would make the most sense to me rather than just having, oh, Victor Von Doom sure looks a lot like our old pal Tony. That wouldn't really do it for me.
Yeah, I guess that's what I feared would happen. But thankfully, in this movie, Thunderbolts, there's little to no multiverse stuff. There's a little bit of history on the screen insofar as like part of the plot has to do with the Avengers breaking up and going their own way as the basis for what some of the main characters are doing in this movie. But yeah, you don't have to worry about which Spider-Man's about to pop out because no Spider-Mans are going to pop out.
No Spider-Man in this movie at all. I did think it's an interesting angle the movie takes with the absence of the Avengers being something that's existentially dragging down the heroes of this movie, while also maybe being some commentary from like the MCU itself about what it's currently facing. The Avengers are gone. What do we do? How do we get people to care about us again? So it did feel like smart writing to have that keep popping up. Some of the scenes where they talk about that, we'll have to discuss the lines specifically. And I'm going to make you read half of that exchange so that we can really perform it.
We're going to act out scenes from the movie. This is a new segment we did.
We've done it before.
It's
not a brand new segment, but a rare one. So with that in mind, do you think it's time to start talking about the story?
Yeah, let's jump right in. Here we go. Yelena Belova, played by Florence Pugh, is a mercenary super soldier with a problem. She hates her job. She's bored, she's unfulfilled, and her life feels like a meaningless void. She even tries asking for advice from her estranged dad, Alexei, aka former Russian hero Red Guardian, played by David Harbour. Alexei currently runs a limousine service, but he tells her the best time in his life was when he was a superhero, saving the lives of ordinary people and earning their adoration. Meanwhile, Yelena's boss, Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, has problems of her own. Valentina, played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, is director of the CIA, and she's facing impeachment hearings in front of Congress, which is why she's hurriedly destroying all evidence of the Sentry Project, the illicit operation she's been running in her other role as head of the shadowy Ox Group. With the Avengers recently retired, Valentina's secret goal with the Sentry Project is to create a new superhero that she can control entirely. Also attending the hearings is freshman Congressman Bucky Barnes, aka Winter Soldier, played by Sebastian Stan. Bucky is having trouble adapting to the way things are done in Washington, D.C., so he takes the initiative to recruit Valentina's assistant Mel, played by Geraldine Viswanathan, as an inside source. Meanwhile, far off in the desert, Valentina has sent all her mercenary killers, including Yelena, on a spurious mission to defend an underground vault filled with Ox's secrets. Once inside, Yelena clashes with former Captain America John Walker, played by Wyatt Russell, and an operative nicknamed Ghost, played by Hannah John-Kamen. But to everyone's surprise, there's one more person in the vault, not a fighter, just a sad little guy named Bob. When the vault doors slam shut, trapping them, they all realize the mission was a setup. Valentina Valentina plans to incinerate them, along with all the Ox evidence. So they stop fighting each other and start trying to find a way to escape. And the mercenaries manage to come together with a surprising amount of teamwork. They escape the vault and fight their way past an Ox Group strike team. Throughout this ordeal, Yelena protects Bob and shows him compassion, and the two bond over their shared experience of the void. So when they're cornered in a bad spot, Bob sneaks away from the group and creates a distraction that allows the others to escape. The soldiers unleash a barrage of bullets at Bob, seeming to kill him, but Bob isn't even injured. He stands back up, then flies thousands of feet into the air, where he promptly blacks out and crashes explosively back into the ground. Seeing all this, Valentina realizes that Bob was the final test subject in her Sentry project, and that her attempts to forge her own superhero actually worked. As the others flee, Valentina's team crates up the unconscious Bob and has him flown back to her tower headquarters in New York City.
Really gave yourself a doozy there. That was quite a long first act synopsis.
It's an interesting movie because when I look back at the way it's structured, there's 3 scenes in it. There's a lot more than that,
yes.
But there's a very limited number of locations, and there's a couple introductory scenes, and then you get to this vault underground in Utah, and you're there for 45 minutes of the movie. It's like this incredible stretch. So it's actually interesting how they make that work. That part of it feels unconventional because there's not as many locations and unique sequences as you might expect to find in a big Hollywood movie.
Yeah, especially an $180 million one. But this is one of the only superhero movies I could think of that could theoretically work as like a stage play. Like they move a couple of times, but there's long stretches of 40 minutes in every location pretty much.
It's pretty interesting, but it's not dull. It's not plotting. It moves very well. And that's a testament to the writing, I think.
Correct. It's absolutely not. It somehow manages to be more dynamic than these kind of globe-trotting Marvel movies that feel the need to bog themselves down with 30-minute CGI battles, which this movie luckily eschews. But yeah, let's talk about the Thunderbolts themselves, who the characters are and who their actors are and whether we like them or not. Spoiler alert, we like Florence Pugh.
Yeah, we like her a lot.
If you've ever listened to this podcast, you know Florence Pugh is bae. And she's so good, even though she was giving me a little bit of Adam Driver and Megalopolis vibes in that opening scene. She's standing on top of the building. I thought she was going to give us a time stop.
There are some eerie parallels. I did not catch that until you said that. But yeah, she's standing on a similar sort of silvery edge of a building in the way she sticks one foot out slowly. She could have stopped and pulled it back if she was Adam Driver. But no, she was really feeling bummed and she just let herself fall.
And I think that was really Florence.
That's what they say.
Based on some behind the scenes footage or whatever, they said she insisted on doing it. Maybe she's been hanging out with Tom Cruise.
For all that being said, like it was a big deal that she insisted, and it's difficult for the production and the keeping it insured, putting the star in jeopardy. Obviously, it was a very well controlled stunt. She was not literally jumping off a building with the parachute. But for all that, when I saw it on screen, because I'd heard that, and when I looked at it on screen, I'm like, it didn't look like it was worth it. Like it didn't feel like she was necessarily on top of a building. Not like it was like a bad looking shot or a bad effect, but you could have substituted that with your very standard special effects technique for getting an actor to do that on a set in front of a green screen. And I wouldn't have known the difference, but she would have.
Yeah.
Florence would have known.
It was clearly a point of pride for Flo Pugh, but her character, Yelena, I think this is the best example since Guardians of the Galaxy of just taking a character that certainly I didn't care about from the comic books, and I don't think was very popular from the comic books, and turning them into a real leading role for a movie that you can really build a movie completely around. Peter Quill would be the other example I can think of. But then I was reflecting on it, and when the MCU started, even like Iron Man and Thor were considered B and C tier characters. So there is like a history here of being able to take these kind of lesser known, lesser loved characters and turn them into something special.
Yeah, they were a little bit smaller, but I would say they were still core Marvel characters where I've been out of the loop for a while, so I don't know how much Yelena, how many books and pages she got devoted to herself over the years, but this does feel like a smaller character. And through the strength of Florence Pugh and the writing of Black Widow and this movie, it just absolutely works. She is a star. She's like a Robert Downey Jr. level actor-character pairing that can really carry a movie.
Yeah, alternates seamlessly between funny and sarcastic and then heartbreaking and sincere in other scenes, depending on what it calls for. She's just really good. And I'm excited she's taken on this mantle as being one of the leaders of this Phase 5, Phase 6 MCU. She's somebody I'm certainly going to be checking for in Doomsday. Hopefully she has a nice big role in there.
She has so much presence in this movie. I was thinking about that. I'm like, I don't want to shortchange her because it's not just natural. Sometimes you go, that actor is being themselves and they're just like that. They're very beautiful and charismatic. But I really feel like Florence Pugh is intentionally bringing the heft to this character with her acting skill. She really fills the screen. She really feels like a big, larger than life character. And not to perpetuate stereotypes, but her energy is maybe like a masculine energy, like heroes that we usually only see in the male mold, like a Harrison Ford. When you see him come on screen as an Indiana Jones or something, you're like, holy shit, that is a dude I just want want him to get on screen and say clever things and be in jeopardy and fight his way out. And Florence has all that.
And she also has depression. So that helps her be more relatable, because how could you live in this world and not be depressed?
She says some relatable things in here. We'll get to them later on.
Yeah, as they come up. Then we've got her, not biological dad, because they were spies. I don't fully understand the backstory. I didn't rewatch Black Widow, but her at least adoptive father, Alexei, aka Red Guardian, played by David Harbour, another very charming actor who unfortunately seems to be going through it a little bit.
Some stuff just came out and I sort of avoided filling myself in. I heard there was some ugly allegations, and maybe you can fill us in if you feel so inclined. But that's always a bummer when a charming actor that you like has some personal stuff come out.
Yeah, it's a little opaque as far as what's actually going on with David Harbour right now.
Okay.
But he just dropped out of Tony Gilroy's Behemoth, which is a big movie with a big cast that was getting a lot of buzz. So you would expect him to really enjoy that, especially because he said he wants, in an interview, he was talking about the end of Stranger Things, and he was just harping on the fact that he wants to make movies and he wants to make original movies with people he respects. So you would think he would really jump at that opportunity. But then married to Lily Allen for some years. They went through a bad divorce, or going through one. I'm not sure if they're legally divorced yet or just separated. And she released an entire album basically about how shitty of a husband he is. I believe it's called West End Girl.
It's not great.
Which that's very like interpersonal stuff. I don't think anyone's accusing him of anything illegal, certainly in that circle. It's just like, it's not illegal to be a bad husband, and it doesn't even make you a bad person necessarily. But then there was also this weird report that Millie Bobby Brown had lodged a complaint against him with Netflix, where they weren't supposed to be on set alone together.
Oh gosh.
They were very clear that it was like a non-sexual complaint. There was no impropriety in that sense. More just, I think, bullying and harassment was how it was phrased. But then Millie Bobby Brown and him were very buddy-buddy at the premiere, and she's come out and said all that was taken out of context and has defended him. So it's very hard to tell like what's really going on with him.
It's often hard to tell because these people have real lives and they're not just stories in the media. But
yeah, he's been somewhat forthright about his mental health struggles over the years. But he's an actor I've been a fan of for a long time. I'll often talk about the fucking terrible, even though I love it, Aaron Sorkin show, The Newsroom.
Yeah.
And he was a character on that. That was late aughts, early tens. And I was like, that guy's got something. And in the recent years, he's cultivated this very folksy dad energy that I think a lot of people gravitated towards. And it's just, you can't fault him for not living up to what we kind of project onto him, but it doesn't make it any easier to necessarily cast it aside.
Yeah.
But I hope he's okay. I hope he's not like a bad dude. There's nothing wrong with being a troubled guy. It's many such cases.
I hope so too, because I want to continue to enjoy his performance on screen, which is like really good in this movie. He's the comic relief, but he also has some really core emotional stuff between him and Yelena, and all of it really works. It's really fun to watch him on screen.
I even thought he was a decent Hellboy. I thought the Hellboy movie he was in was really bad, but through no fault of his own. But Ron Perlman will always be Hellboy, because you just got to paint that guy red, and he's basically Hellboy. He's just got that jaw. But yeah, Red Guardian in this movie, he plays his role perfectly. It is funny that when Yelena goes to his house, it's basically just a retread of when we find Thor in New Asgard, just like on his couch ordering DoorDash and being a slob. So that seems to be a well that the Marvel writers like to keep going back to. Like when these guys aren't on a mission, they're all lazy slobs.
It's a great thing. He plays the genuinely hopeful character amongst this group of very cynical, jaded, world-weary mercenaries who've been doing all this morally repugnant work and hating themselves and hating their lives. And his life is not great. He's running this 2-bit limo service, but he's still the one who's like optimistic about being a hero and helping people and being loved. And it's a fun role he plays in the movie.
And he's very well suited to it. He's got great Labrador energy, which is what you need for this type of character.
Yeah.
What's the opposite of Labrador energy? Doberman energy? Because I feel like that's what Wyatt Russell has most of the time.
He has some mean dog energy.
As John Walker, aka not Captain America no longer, I fully admit to being a Wyatt Russell skeptic up until this movie. I know you were a fan of his. It never really clicked for me. I never watched Lodge 49, which I think has maybe something to do with it. I know people say that's a really important show to understand his appeal.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that.
But he taps into something here that I find really interesting. And he seems like a standard meathead kind of jerk at first. He's still talking about his high school football days when they're all in the vault.
Right.
But then when we see his trip to the void, his trauma is so relatable. It's just like he doesn't feel fulfilled as a family man, and he's a bad dad.
Yeah.
Which is, it might sound low stakes compared to what's going on, but I'm sure when you're in it, it feels very high stakes. And like he literally loses his family because he's always on that damn phone.
It's very relatable. And his ability to let some genuine pathos, some real sad sadness about his difficult relationships with his child, with his wife or ex-wife. That sort of genuine sadness creeps just enough through his high school football bro act that it tempers it. And instead of feeling like a gross, schlocky stereotype, it feels like, oh, now we see that it's a mask that he's wearing, and it feels darker and more poignant.
Actually, his performance in this motivated me to go back and watch The Falcon and Winter Soldier, which is where his character originates. I haven't watched a ton of the MCU TV shows. I watched some Loki, but I'm about 3 or 4 episodes. I think I'm midway through episode 4, and he's clicking for me in that too. So cool. He does get maybe the toughest job because he gets a lot of expository dialogue where he goes around the room and just says a couple lines about each person so we can all understand who they are if we haven't done our homework.
Are you talking about the vault scene?
Yeah.
It's interesting because if you remember, like the vault scene was the pseudo trailer that they released, or they're like, we're releasing the first 5 minutes of the movie. Here's your sneak preview of Thunderbolts to get people hyped. And I was actually hyped by it, even though to some extent it is an exposition dump scene. It's got all this work to do to reintroduce or introduce this set of characters to you, but it's got this great tension to it. So I feel like it really worked. That's an example how the filmmaking skill is at a high level in this movie, is that they got this scene where they had to do a lot of exposition, but also it was exciting enough to be the teaser for the film.
Yeah, I immediately was on guard that I was going to hear some nonsense, some terrible writing, to just fly through all this. But no, they integrated into the story nicely. It makes sense. It's also helpful because, like we said, we didn't know who some of these people were. I have no memory of Hannah John-Kamen as Ghost.
No.
Those words mean nothing to me.
They still don't mean much to me.
But yeah, I've seen Ant-Man. She's not the most dynamic character in this movie. I think part of the problem is that she's maybe a bit of a retread of Yelena's character already.
Yeah.
They're both conflicted, lonely assassins, this hard exterior.
I mean, the trick of the movie is that they're all that. They all can relate.
I guess Red Guardian and John Walker also have a lot of overlap, considering they're both super soldiers who were mascots almost for their country. But like one of them is much older. So you meet them at different points in their life, whereas Ghost and Yelena appear to be about the same age.
Yeah. But the missing character, Taskmaster, who we didn't really talk about because she comes and goes within this 1 5-minute scene, she's even more, she's directly related to Yelena. Wasn't she the bad guy?
She was a Red Room assassin as well. She was the bad guy in Black Widow.
In Black Widows, yeah.
But the henchman of the bad guy in Black Widow.
Right.
It was Ray Winstone, I guess, was the big bad, and she was his number 2. Yeah, I don't love what they did with Taskmaster here. The Taskmaster I grew up with was like a goofball and was always like doing stuff with Deadpool. So I understand not wanting to go that route because it's kind of, they've already got that. But do we even see Taskmaster without her mask on in this movie, or does she just get shot in the head, mask on, and that's it? Did Olga Kurylenko even have to show up for this?
I can picture one scene where she turns to speak to somebody and her mask goes back for a second. So you see her face and she has those distinctive scars. So that is just there as a signpost in case you remembered her scars from seeing Black Widow. But it's real quick. Her whole appearance is super quick. It is a weird choice because you're like, it's too quick to have it be emotional, right?
Right. There's no weight to it.
Yeah. You're like, oh, I guess I didn't have to learn about that character.
To me, it feels like roster housekeeping. Like I brought up that there's a concern that it's getting bloated with how many people are going to be in this Avengers movie and all these MCU shows that they're clearly not intending to go back to anytime soon. I feel like just to avoid people being like, what about this guy? They're just going to kill them off unceremoniously in projects from now on. Like maybe we'll get like Kate Bishop in a movie and she just gets a piano dropped on her or something. Who knows?
Walking down the sidewalk.
They got to clean up the roster somehow.
It feels a little bit like that. And it also feels a little bit just like a power move by the writers to be like a quick rug pull on you, something daring that you wouldn't expect to see, something that raises the level of seriousness in the movie. These characters are actually at risk to dying at any point. I get it overall, but also it's one thing about this movie that sticks out and everybody who watches it goes, what's up with Taskmaster? Why'd they do that?
That Olga Kurylenko like pissed somebody off. It's a bit of a cop-out to me in terms of if you're trying to set us up for anything can happen to anybody, nobody else dies. And this is a very minor character, even in the grand scheme of things before, like they're basically cameo in this movie. Nobody was really like tuning in to see Taskmaster. So it feels like you kind of half-assed it if what you're going for.
And also that they committed themselves to too much work for it because to keep it a secret, they had to still give her poster billing. She's in all the images.
Was she at the premiere at the Dolby Theater?
She was at the premiere. Yeah, you wouldn't know. She was in a glamorous gown with all the other stars walking the red carpet at the premiere and yucking it up. And then it's like, oh, I'm not really in this movie.
Yeah, do you think she got up and left 11 minutes into the movie and was just like, all right, that's my time?
She just ran out. I didn't know what was going on. But yeah, it's a weird commitment to the bit. And you're like, what was that bit worth?
Yeah, it does feel like they were trying to accomplish something that wasn't fully clear. You know who else was trying to accomplish something that wasn't fully clear? Sebastian Stan. My man is sound asleep throughout this movie. And he's still manages to be very charismatic and captivating. He's a very magnetic actor.
Yeah.
But Bucky feels like a hat on a hat in this movie a little bit. I know he's a marquee character they don't really know what to do with, so they're like, fuck it, we got a new team, throw him in there. But he doesn't feel like part of the Thunderbolts to me. Maybe because he starts off as an outsider.
I can see the outlines of the role that they crafted for him. It's like aging hero tries to go straight and become a congressman.
Not the best thing to do if you want to go straight. Just get involved in U.S. politics.
Yeah, go crooked as a congressman, but then he bristles under that. He can't quite deal with the boring life of a DC policy guy. And so it's supposed to be exciting when you see him shed his suit and get back on his motorcycle, but it's not that exciting because it's part of the movie that's a little bit too busy with its history. So just in what you get on screen, it's like, yeah, I see where they're going. This guy is like having a hard time being a congressman and talking to the press and reading his briefings and stuff.
Well, because they turned his counterpart, my boy Wendell Pierce, Bunk Moreland himself from The Wire, into a fucking lib. So Bucky's like, so what do we do now? We've got this evidence. He's like, we vote him out in November. And he's like, what?
Yeah, he's the establishment guy in this.
Feels weirdly timely. Like they didn't know that was going to be so topical. Dems trying to legislate their way out of a constitutional crisis.
I think it's probably intended as a little more genuine heroism as a bold congressperson, which now that seems like kind of laughable. But yeah, to Sebastian Stan, I agree with you. He's a charismatic actor. He has a lot of presence. But what I thought I saw was an actor trying to make unique choices, which is what actors do, make choices with their line readings and do something a little different because he's like, I've been in a bunch of these Marvel movies, but I really want to be considered as a more serious actor. So I'm just going to do something slightly different with each one of my line deliveries. But instead of being fresh and interesting, they're just all slightly off. So you're like, oh, this guy hasn't found the rhythm of this movie. And it sinks his character more than makes him stand out.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. But that doesn't mean we don't love Sebastian Stan.
No, we still stand for Sebastian.
Oh, speaking of standing for people, let's talk a little bit about Louis Pullman as Bob.
Yeah.
We love Bill Pullman. That's established. Who doesn't? And Louis Pullman looks a lot like him.
He does. I was going to say, is Louis one of our boys? I feel like he's on the threshold of...
He's certainly on the trajectory to be one of our boys. He's just got
one of our guys.
Yeah, he's got one of our guys' energy.
You reminded me that he was the bellhop in what's it called?
Oh, Bad Times at the El Royale. Yeah, we love that movie.
That was a fun movie. A lot of great actors. And I didn't even realize that I was seeing Louis Pullman in it so much at that time because he looked very young and he was playing this very timid little character, which actually you're reminded of when you see the way he plays Bob.
Yeah.
But then when I saw him in Outer Range as the younger brother, that character is much more nuanced and a really interesting dimensional character to me. And so at that point, I became a fan of Louis Pullman. And here, the guy's got a lot of skill as an actor. He's back to doing a sort of cartoonish character, right? Bob is supposed to be funny. He's supposed to be...
He's a mess. Yeah, like he's a disaster of a person. I also wanted to point out, he played a very similar role in Top Gun Maverick, also a character named Bob, but kind of a big dork.
I'd forgotten that.
Very nervous. Yeah.
He's really good at that.
He is. He's great. I'm just gonna say it. He's one of our guys.
Welcome, Louis Pullman, to the guys list.
Also, by the way, if you guys haven't watched Outer Range, me and Ian might be the only two people to ever see the show, even though it's got a lot of star power.
You could be the third.
And it's really good. Pirate it if you can, because it's fuck Amazon all day. But it's out there. It's good. Did it end on a cliffhanger? I can't remember how it ended.
I don't know. I feel like everybody just fell down a hole.
Many such cases. I'm excited to talk about where Louis is going next because he's got some fun projects on the horizon.
Ooh, okay. I can't wait for that.
I did have one qualm with this section of the movie, though.
Okay.
Why is there a fucking countdown clock in this vault that is only supposed to be filled with materials to be destroyed and people you want to kill? What's the point in giving them just a big heads up about when it's going to happen?
That's a good question.
It feels transported from a dumber movie. We've given the writing of this movie a lot of credit. Well-deserved, I would say, but this feels stupid.
That kind of stood out to me too, but in my mind, I did manage to come up with a justification for it. And that's that this vault was not originally designed just to burn evidence, that this was like some kind of...
They had to get an external power source for it, which means...
Oh, they did?
Yeah, that's how they get out. The power source is in the room with them. It's not hardwired, which means it was added, if not recently, after the fact, and they could have dismantled it.
You really made sense of those couple lines in the story there, some little tiny plot details.
Because I was mad, and nothing gets me more motivated than anger. So I was like, I gotta see. I hope I'm wrong. This isn't just a stupid ass thing. But I could find no evidence that this was anything but a bad writing decision.
Okay, yeah, that dismantles my explanation that it was like a rocket engine testing facility that they repurposed. Maybe it was our girl Mel, who's...
Just giving him a heads up.
She's a character who goes between being ambitious and on board with Valentina's evil plans and having a conscience. And maybe this was a moment of her conscience. She put in a clock.
Could be. I feel like you're being far too generous. But...
Yeah, that's a real stretch. It's just movie bullshit.
All right, you ready to go into Act 2?
Yeah, let's hear what happens next.
All right. The next morning, as they make their escape across the desert on foot, Yelena, Ghost, and Walker are picked up by an enthusiastic Red Guardian in his limo. But the limo is soon attacked by Valentina's pursuing soldiers. Things look bad until suddenly they're rescued by none other than Bucky Barnes, who has shed his tailored suit and gone back into hero mode. Bucky wants to detain Yelena and company and drag them in front of Congress to testify against Valentina. But with the help of a timely call from Mel, the group informs Bucky about Bob and convinces him that Bob's newfound powers constitute a threat that they must urgently confront together. So, borrowing the name of Yelena's childhood Pee Wee soccer team, the newly formed Thunderbolts head to Valentina's New York Tower, which ironically is the former headquarters of the Avengers. The Thunderbolts arrive expecting a fight, but Valentina welcomes them in and introduces them to Sentry. It's Bob with a super suit and bleach blonde hair. Valentina has preyed on Bob's insecurities to inflate his ego and groom him into doing her bidding. The Thunderbolts try to apprehend Sentry, but they're no match for his formidable powers. Bob gives the whole group a thorough ass-kicking, but due to his inherent gentleness, he won't agree to Valentina's demands to kill them. So the banged-up Thunderbolts slink back out into the streets of Manhattan. Sadly, their tenuous team spirit has evaporated in the shame of their defeat. Yelena chews everyone out as losers, and the group breaks up. Meanwhile, back upstairs, Valentina confronts Bob. When she realizes she can no longer control him, Valentina pulls the trigger on the kill switch the research lab has embedded in Bob. And so ends the brief life and career of the hero named Sentry. Let's talk about Louis Pullman as Sentry.
Yeah.
Because it almost feels like a whole new character.
He gets a makeover. He has some...
got his groove back.
Like they bleached his hair, but the roots are still showing. It was a very quick job
rush
to
job.
Sort of give him a new look.
I think Valentina should have given him a silver streak like she has.
Oh, yeah.
Really drive home the point that like he's working for her now. But it's pretty cool to see Louis Pullman pull this out of his hat. A whole new layered character, but still with the hints of Bob beneath the surface. He's clearly loving his newfound power. He seems much more self-assured, much more confident, but parts of Bob still eke out.
Yeah, he has to play a fairly complicated back and forth where these different sides of his personality or different impulses are alternately winning him over. And he's really good. He absolutely makes that work.
What'd you think of the fight scene with the team going up against him?
That was fun. That was the real fun and games moment of the movie. If you're thinking about action movies that set up a big premise and then pay it off, that was the fun payoff because the later action scenes leading up into the climax and then the actual climax, we'll talk about those in Act 3. Those have totally different emotional valences, but this is fun superhero fighting. And it's kind of messed up because you're on the side of the Thunderbolts and they're getting their asses kicked.
Not even a chance at getting in an offense at any
Just
point.
getting spanked up and down that room, but it's well done. It's both cool and funny and thrilling and scary and a whole bunch of emotions at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's been a long time since we've had a Marvel character that's like on this level of superpowers. There's very few of them that I think have that Superman toolkit of pretty much anything you can imagine he can do. And it sticks out in this movie because the rest of the heroes are relatively grounded. Ghost can quote unquote teleport, but they try to like science it away with some reasonable explanation.
Right.
And super soldiers are just enhanced humans. They're not superhuman quite. So everyone else feels almost like somebody you could theoretically meet in the real world. And then this guy is just melting guns in people's hands. And it's like a wake up call.
Yeah, he's got every kind of power. He can heat things up with his eyes or with his mind. He can push things around with his mind. He has this incredible telekinetic blast that he unleashes on people. He can fly. He's invulnerable to everything you throw at him. He's super scary, but it's great to put that stuff in a character that is very clearly limited by his personality and his psyche, right? Like you can't put that into a smart, determined, evil villain because that person then runs away with the world and you have to come up with some cheesy way that they diffuse it. But this character has his built-in weaknesses and they're right on the surface.
And his weaknesses are things like empathy and gentleness.
That's true.
Not really weaknesses
for a villain.
For a villain, yeah.
Which makes him really interesting. I guess we haven't revealed what happens to him in the end, but it's quite cool and plausible the way his character plays out.
Yeah. Let's talk about Julia Louis-Dreyfus as Valentina real quick. This is a character that I feel has been introduced like 15 times into the MCU by now. I feel like she just hasn't caught on. She's been in lots of stuff in the MCU already.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. So this is not her debut at all.
No, she was in like the Hawkeye show. Hold on. Oh, so she was in Black Widow.
Oh, okay. I didn't remember.
She was in Wakanda Forever.
Okay.
She was in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So this is her fourth appearance in the MCU. But like,
okay.
I feel like every time she pops up, they feel the need to like introduce her. Like they don't have confidence that the audience knows and remembers her.
Well, I wouldn't have. I was glad they introduced her, but they didn't spend a long time with it. They have this formal introduction in the impeachment scene, and that was good.
Yeah.
And then we were off and running, and I knew everything I needed to know about her, including her style and her personality, which is quite fun.
Yeah, she's got a lot of overlap with her character from Veep, Selena Meyer. Although, if you could believe it, I think she's nicer than Selena Meyer, but she does get some great comedic moments. One of my favorites is just when she's in like the Humvee with Mel and she's like, "Don't gasp at work." I thought that was like a really funny line.
That was a great line, and obviously perfectly delivered by an actress of her caliber.
Yeah, you can't ask for better comedic timing than Julia Louis-Dreyfus. And respectfully, still a babe.
Yeah.
She's 64. Would you believe it?
It's hard to believe. She looks great. She's definitely the villain in this, but similar to Bob/Sentry, she has just enough, I don't know, they play her just right in this little soft zone where she's maybe going to be able to pivot and not be destroyed in a fireball at the end of the movie.
Yeah, she's not a monster. She is the villain, but she's not irredeemable. She's overly ambitious. She's got no respect for the guardrails of democracy.
Right.
Many such cases. But she's not, I think that's part of this movie is almost cozy because they're like, the stakes are high, obviously. The void could wipe out all of humanity, probably in hours if he really wanted to. But at the same time, it's like there's nobody destroying whole countries and giving monologues about why humanity needs to be wiped out, or like everybody's got their own motivations for things, and like they just happen to bump up against each other.
It's just refreshing not to have those kind of stakes on screen. And like you pointed out with John Walker, everybody in this movie at some point touches Bob's skin, which leads to a flashback to their trauma moment, and Valentina gets one herself.
Yeah, nice character background. We get a glimpse into her tragic childhood and maybe one of the things that made her so broken and feeling the need to control things.
It gives you some sympathy for her that I didn't expect to get for that character.
So do you also read the interactions between Elena and Bob? Like maybe there's a romance brewing?
I read them like in the movies there might be one, but Bob is so asexual that I couldn't imagine it.
I was wondering how would it work with the whole you touch Bob, then the void, it's like a worse version of Rogue from the X-Men. She steals your powers if you touch her. Bob just makes you super depressed.
Like you're trying to get intimate and you're reliving your childhood trauma the entire time.
But it's not like he does it. I think it's if you touch him and he gets like angry or upset, it happens. It's not every time you touch him, because Elena puts her arm around him at some point, I think.
Okay.
It doesn't happen then. It's just like, and when Walker pushes him up against the wall is when it happens to Walker. I think it's like an involuntary reaction Bob has when somebody's like being mean to him.
When he's charged up. Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, it would make interpersonal relationships pretty complicated.
Yeah.
Speaking of complicated interpersonal relationships, and if there's maybe a hint of romance, we got to talk about Geraldine Viswanathan as Mel. She's good in this movie. I think she's a really fun, talented actor. I could also see Ayo Edebiri being really good in this role. But I thought Mel's flip-flop between being with Val or against Val was not really explained in each moment when she flip-flops or why. It's kind of a wishy-washy character in that sense.
I agree. It feels disjointed because there are times where she feels ambitious and cutthroat, just like her boss. And yet then she'll step into a darkened hallway and get on the phone with Bucky and just be absolutely horrified at what she's doing at work. And you're like, I didn't know that was you.
But then like she's like, I want to raise. It's like, that's all it took for you to overlook these like war crimes.
It's glossed over in that Hollywood smirky, smarmy way that you can be a good guy. Like she's genuinely a good guy because she blows the whistle on her bad boss, but you can also be in it for yourself.
And I was wondering if there was maybe a little romance brewing with her and Bucky, even though they do make reference to their problematic age gap, as you reminded me.
Yeah.
But there are some lines in their conversations that are hard to understand how they got into the movie if that wasn't the intention. So I would like to reenact my favorite of them with you.
Okay.
So can you go ahead and be Mel and read the first line?
Okay. I'm calling up Bucky because I don't know what to do about my boss. I need help. And I say, nobody's coming to save the day, right?
Maybe we could be the ones that are coming.
You have to dig that line out because it's actually the dialogue is turned down there. He says it real quiet.
I thought I misheard it, but you went back and listened.
I went back and listened when you wrote it in the notes. It's a very funny line, and his delivery makes it funnier because he's saying it soft and cutesy under his breath, which is like if he's trying to give the literal meaning about heroes coming to save the day, he should have said that a little more in a heroic tone and not in a weird like sad boy tone that he does. And he says it off screen, like her face is on screen when he says it. So it might have been ADR'd. Like they might have added that later to try to
have a hard time
juice up the scene.
They added that in later. Like I don't know if they knew. I don't know. What do you think? Was this
their interplay is weird?
Yeah.
Because even the first time they meet in the congressional hearing room or whatever, or is it at the party or something? Anyway, he's first trying to schmooze her and recruit her and say, hey,
it's at the party.
You could maybe call me sometime. And that is written like a meet cute. It's written sassy and they're sparring with each other and he gives her his card and she's, oh, you give me your trash. And it's like cute and spunky. But it is the whole time, even their literal ages as actors is problematic. And then you remember that he was frozen for decades.
I don't know if I would agree that they're like Sebastian Stan's 43. I think Geraldine Viswanathan's 30.
Okay. okay.
So it's not that bad.
I was thinking there was another 5 years in the opposite directions from each other. So it's not terrible, but
I think the character of Mel's supposed to be like mid-20s. So I could see it there. But yeah, but he makes a joke about like when she's, oh, I was in high school when the aliens attacked and you saved the day. And he's like, I was 90. So yeah, he's got to be like, what, 105 in this movie?
they call it out. So it is weird and it's never explored, like the Yelena-Bob relationship. It's kind of nice that they just left romance out of this one. They're like, they had some men and some women who had interesting relationships, but they didn't go there with them.
I disagree that they left it out. I think they just very subtly hinted at it with Bob and Yelena specifically. I think there's something brewing there.
Yeah, no, not that they weren't trying to do a little something, but that they didn't go there. Like they didn't take it to the kiss or the almost kiss scene. So we didn't have to think about that stuff, or we didn't have to see it, an uncomfortable version of it.
Think about that stuff. Like you're grossed out by kissing.
Like I'm a little boy, ew, kissing girls.
My only other note, I think, for Act 2 is that I just wanted to shout out, we already talked about Wendell Pierce. Another minor character in this movie is a Wire alum, Chris Bauer, who plays Holt, the security team leader for Ox Group. But then I was looking at the actor, Chris Bauer's 60 years old.
Yeah.
It's like, isn't he a little old to be the active leader of a death squad?
Yeah, I noticed that. I didn't remember him from The Wire, but I know he was a character actor that I had seen and stuff. And yeah, when he shows up at the vault, he's the leader of the team that Val calls in to do away with our heroes, or to try to do away with them early on. And then isn't he the sniper in the helicopter trying to kill Bob at the end when he goes bad?
Yeah, who gets like voided.
And in both those scenes, it looks like, oh, there's an old guy running the show here. That seems unusual,
Right.
But maybe we shouldn't be ageist about it. I don't know.
They didn't try to de-age him or anything. He looks at every day of 60.
Yeah.
I mean, he's worked a long time on the docks of Baltimore. That's a tough job. Get that sea air, that salt water splashing you.
Yeah.
You would love it.
That'll put some lines on your face.
Cable knit sweaters. Oh, you'd be in heaven. Should have been a stevedore.
I do love a cape. I don't think I could hack it unloading boats, but I would go for the sweaters and the fisherman's caps.
Just hang out on the docks like corncob pipe.
Just a guy who hangs out. Hey, get to work. Hey, I don't work here. I'm just wearing the sweater and the cap.
I'm just an admirer. All right, you ready to take us home?
Here we go. As Yelena and her father Alexei have an emotional reckoning on the streets of New York, they realize that high above them, something is going wrong. Apparently, Bob was not in fact killed by Valentina's kill switch. His great power allowed him to survive, but at the same time, his great personal despair has made him come back horribly changed. Bob is now the Void, a vengeful and destructive shadow of the man he was. As Valentina's soldiers battle with Bob high above, falling equipment and debris threatens to crush the innocent people on the street below. Seeing this, the Thunderbolts spontaneously reunite and leap into action, imbued with a pure heroic purpose. But as the Void turns his attention down on them, he seems to be an unstoppable force. The black shadow he emanates begins to consume the city, instantly vaporizing anyone it touches. But, emboldened by her newfound sense of purpose and the love of her father, Yelena steps out to confront Bob, not with anger, but with compassion. As the Void's shadow consumes Yelena, she finds herself transported to an endless mind palace of interconnected rooms, each one trapping its victim in a particular scene where they relive the signature traumas of their lives. Yelena escapes her own trauma room, and she finds her way to Bob's. Soon, her Thunderbolts teammates enter the Void to join her, and they all make a determined effort to get out. Together, they battle their way to the core of Bob's trauma, where he directly faces down the dark Void version of himself. But the Void cannot be defeated with anger or violence. He only gets stronger from it. Realizing this, Yelena and the Thunderbolts surround Bob in a group hug. As Bob realizes he is loved, the Void disappears. The shadow lifts from the island, and the innocent people of Manhattan return. Back on the street, the Thunderbolts spot their nemesis, Valentina. She steps through a gap in some rubble, and the Thunderbolts pursue her. But emerging on the other side, they find themselves facing a crowd of reporters and cameras as Valentina begins her impromptu press conference. Valentina turns the tables by praising the group as heroes who stepped up and saved the city in a time of need. And with that, she proudly introduces the team by the name she's coined for them, the New Avengers.
Yeah. They're new Avengers. It sounds super corny to defeat the villain by hug, but it plays a lot better than it sounds.
Yes, reading that, I'm like, oh boy, that sounds dumb. But
Yeah.
somehow it works on screen. And it's
It does.
partly because you really like all those actors and those characters. And so when you see them squished up together and hugging and crying, it's emotional. It's cool.
Yeah, this act has a few big emotional moments that really land, and you called one out, so I'll pass it to you.
Yeah, Yelena and Alexei have this reckoning where she calls him out for being a bad father, and he apologizes. And it's really well written and well acted. Obviously, we've been praising these two actors throughout. When Yelena says, "Daddy, I'm so alone," I'm like, man, I'm tearing up right now just trying to repeat the line. Every time I watch that scene, when she got to that line, I was bursting out in tears.
She's not screaming it. It's just like such a defeated kind of
Yeah, it's very real. Like she maintains her character's sense of humor throughout this scene, but what she's saying is really real and really gets to you.
And then she's like, all I do is sit and look at my phone and I'm all alone. And I'm like, yeah, man. Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, that was super relatable.
Same. Yeah, just a great scene. Florence Pugh, she might be one of the best we got right now.
Yeah, she's really awesome. And that scene, the movie's already super fun. And when that scene happens, it's really the emotional climax. And you're like, oh man, this is not something you expect to happen in every Marvel movie. But we didn't talk about the writer of the script is the showrunner of The Bear. So like when it comes to writing emotional and realistic contemporary scenes, who else better could you get?
You talking about Joanna Callow?
Yeah.
So she came on, she didn't write it with Eric Pearson. Eric Pearson wrote it and then she was brought on.
Oh, okay.
Because she worked on Beef with Jake Schreier.
I see.
So she like punched it up. But I could totally see how a lot of those big emotional moments are lifted from her. I think The Bear does big emotional moments about as well as any show that's been on in the last 20 years.
Yeah, you can see the difference because I can see any generic Marvel movie putting that scene in and going, oh yeah, now we have to do the reckoning. It's Elena and her dad are the core of the story. So now's the moment where they have it out on screen. But to write it with just the right pitch that these actors can deliver it and have it be so powerful, that's where it really helps to get those really good writers.
This is one of the better written Marvel movies I can remember ever seen, and it goes a long way. Let's talk about, we got our third act and third version of Bob to talk about. Now he's got a brand new suit. He's the Void.
The Void looks badass, doesn't he?
He's just a shadow.
The only thing that you can see is the pinpricks of white light reflecting in his eyes. And I just thought that was the coolest look. That plus the way when he zarks people and they flatten out into a black smear. I'm like, this is one of the coolest, scariest supervillains that I've seen on screen in a while.
Yeah, that reminded me of a movie that I often praise on this podcast, which is specifically the first half of War of the Worlds, the Spielberg one.
Yes.
The way those aliens take out people in the streets reminded me a lot of what the Void does here.
I forgot about that, but totally, yeah.
I always found that sequence in War of the Worlds like viscerally frightening and upsetting. It's not quite on that level because this is still a movie that they want some kids to go see, I'm sure. But it does feel like freakier than you would expect from a movie like this.
Yeah, and I thought they were dead. Like they hold the cards close until Yelena gets zarked and you see that those people are actually being absorbed into Bob's mental void. They're not really being killed. But
Did you coin the term Zark?
You don't use the term Zark generically?
It sounds like something Scooby-Doo would shout or like Shaggy would shout when he sees a ghost.
Zarks!
Zarks! But I'm going to start using it.
I didn't know what else to call it because he's not zapping them with a ray. This shadow is just falling on them and then they get vaporized.
Yeah, it does seem like he can focus it, but also he can just kind of spread it into like a wide area. So maybe Zarks is the right term. It's just not what I'm familiar with.
It's interesting because it's echoes of past Marvel movies and Avengers in particular because it's happening at the old Avengers headquarters. And once again, Manhattan is being threatened with its very existence because this shadow's rapidly across the island and conceivably to us killing millions as it goes. But I'd much rather watch this than watch fleets of weird aliens surfing on dinosaur fossil creatures and just blasting buildings. Like this is a much better climactic threat.
I mean, it has shades of the Snap as well because those people didn't die either. They just went away for a while. This is just a more short-lived version of that, but only short-lived because they managed to defeat it. And I also wanted to give some credit to the way they designed the introductory credits to the movie because the big Marvel sign and there's like the Marvel theme playing, but the Void shadow slowly overtakes it. And as it does, like instruments from the orchestra start dropping out until eventually you're just left with silence. And I thought that was just a really like cleverly crafted sequence.
Yeah, that's so cool. And you can't really get what you're seeing until your second watch. And then you're like, oh shit, that's the Void.
Really well done. And then we get the shame rooms, where we fight through these rooms. And I brought it up earlier, but one of the reasons this movie really does work for me is it jettisons the cliche long drawn out CGI battle for something that feels more thematically tied to the movie and its themes.
Yeah.
Isolation and trauma and shame and ennui. I think that also is indicative of the movie as a whole. The movie's not just trying to advance the MCU, like get these characters to a point where like it would make sense for them to fight Doctor Doom, which I would say some of the MCU's entries in the last few years have been guilty of that, just kicking the can down the road, get these people in position for the next thing. But this movie is trying to say something and achieve something unique on its own.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it snuck an origin story on me. And like we're all at this point so jaded that we're like, oh no, don't do another origin story superhero movie. But it was one where the characters earned their origin, right? Besides it being thematically thematically very interesting and dealing with mental health themes in a nice, sophisticated way. It set up what in the end was like a really cheesy MCU reveal. Like my theater broke out in a roar of applause when she said the new Avengers, because that's fan bait shit. But it kind of like it sneaks that in on you and you don't feel manipulated by it.
Yeah. And even with the new Avengers thing, they dropped some intrigue on that in the post-credit scene because apparently the Falcon, aka Sam, whatever his last name is supposed to be, is not on board with this. He's trying to make his own Avengers group. There might be a little bit of a conflict here.
Yeah, Red Guardian hints that he tried to sue them.
Now he wants to make them the Avengers with the Z, which
yeah,
it's a good bit.
Yeah, he gets to be extra silly in the end now that the stakes are all off. He's an absolute clown in the post-credit scenes.
And that's Thunderbolts. Was there anything else from the third act you wanted to touch on?
No. Yeah, it was good. Like you said, it wasn't just a movie that was moving the pieces into place, but yet it earned from me the feeling of, oh, I do want to see what they do next. I want to see what this group gets into. And Bob is both with his relationship with Yelena and his relationship with himself as Sentry and or the Void, all that's still up in the air. Like, what does it mean that he's still tagging along with these guys? Is he going to try to fight? Is he going to accidentally transform again and put everyone in jeopardy? There's a lot of fun questions in the air.
Did you ever read any comics with the Sentry in them?
I don't think I did.
He's an interesting character. I like reading about him because he's usually in control, but the Void is always there, occasionally popping out. And sometimes, there's whole plot lines where it takes over again for a prolonged period of time. I assume that's the route they'll go with it, where he's usually fine and in control, but sometimes something extreme can cause a situation like what we saw in this movie. That could be fun to see in the context of a big superhero team up where one of them is just an absolute wild card that could go evil at any moment.
Yeah, it's a great setup.
Did want to point out, second movie of the year to close with Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now by Jefferson Starship.
Oh, I didn't realize that. What else had that?
Naked Gun didn't have it in the credits. It had it in the prolonged love triangle with the snowman.
Oh, okay.
You did see Naked Gun, right?
I did see it, but I didn't remember that song in there. And I didn't take notice of it in the end credits of this either until you said it, and I went back and heard them launch into that.
Oh, it's just Starship. It's not Jefferson Starship.
Oh, they had jettisoned the Jefferson at that point.
Yeah, when did that happen?
I don't know. Sometime in the 80s, you had to be hip. You couldn't be like, it wasn't cool to be tied to the 60s flower power shit anymore. You had to be sleek and modern.
Jefferson Airplane, great band. Starship had some bangers. All right, you want to check in with these folks and see what they got on the horizon?
Yeah, I'm very interested.
Like we mentioned with Schreier, he was not much of a movie director before this. It's only his third movie after Robot and Frank in 2012 and Paper Towns in 2015. But then looking at his TV directing resume answered a lot of questions about how he got this gig. So he directed a bunch of episodes of Lodge 49. So that's clearly where he knew Wyatt Russell from.
Okay.
Kidding, which I think was that Jim Carrey show about like stand-up comedy maybe. And Beef season 2 is coming soon. I liked Beef a lot. The Stephen Yeun and was it Ali Wong show?
It was Ali Wong. I heard all this great hype about it, and then there was something that was a downer. Wasn't one of the cast members problematic or something? And it happened right as the show was cresting, and I was like, oh, I don't feel as excited to watch this anymore, and I never turned it on. But I've recently been thinking that I need to go back.
You know what? I haven't heard that, but I'm going to dig into it when we're off the air, because if it was enough to dissuade you from watching the show, it had to be something significant.
It was something ugly, but I can't bring it back at this point. Whatever it was turned me off, but I love Stephen Yeun, and I think very highly of Ali Wong, and I heard great things about the show.
Hey, Ali Wong's back on the market. Her and Bill Hader just broke up.
That's so sad, because what a cute couple.
Drake Schreier, also a longtime music video director, not like he did it as an early stage of his career like a lot of people do. He is an active music video director.
Oh, okay.
First one he made was 2005's Off the Record by My Morning Jacket. Great track. And he's still doing it in 2025. He directed Younger and Hotter Than Me by Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco. I assume a song Benny Blanco wrote about his wife, Selena Gomez.
Yeah, that's cool. I feel like if you're a director and you're really into bands and music, you wouldn't have to give that up.
Right.
Did Fincher ever go back and do more music videos?
I don't know. I know like Spike Jonze has. He never really gave up doing music videos altogether. I assume Fincher, I don't know. Fincher seems like such a grump though.
Yeah, he's the opposite of that. He might be the guy that's like, I've moved on. I'm about my art.
Although they keep saying that the Cliff Booth movie with Brad Pitt's going to be a comedy. I don't know how that's going to go.
Interesting.
It's funny. David Fincher has a whole section of his Wikipedia called Unfinished Projects. Oh, he did direct a music video in 2013 was the last time. It was Suit and Tie by Justin Timberlake and Jay-Z.
Interesting choice to go out on.
He also directed Judith by A Perfect Circle, which has the iconic shot of bass player Paz Linchanton putting her hair in a ponytail when she has no part to play for 5 seconds. That made me fall in love immediately.
Wow. That sounds like a core memory because you just whipped that right out.
Absolutely. Everyone in my friend group was like, did you see the Judith video? Who's their bassist? Because we were like 13 at the time. So it was
that's awesome.
Prime time. Great bass player too, Paz. Very talented.
Nice.
For the listeners who are not aware, I'm also a bass player, so I pay attention to things like that.
Yeah, you do.
Of course, as we mentioned, Schreier will direct the first MCU X-Men movie. This movie's got me excited for that movie now.
Yeah, that's good news. I'm into that.
Like, I'm a little concerned about the route they're going with the X-Men in the MCU, because I know James Marsden is coming back as Cyclops, but like Famke Johnson is not coming back as Jean Grey, apparently.
Okay.
So is Sophie Turner coming back as Jean Grey, or is it Sophie Spink now from Stranger Things rumored to be Jean Grey? But like, it feels like the timelines are all very jumbled right now, and we have some of the original cast coming back, and some are being recast, and some are from like that middle group. Yeah, I'm very lost as to what's supposed to be going on here.
I mean, you should be more like me, who knows absolutely nothing about what's going on, because then I don't have to worry about it, and I could just go, hey, that looks fun when it comes out.
Are you telling me ignorance is bliss?
It is for me in this situation and in a lot of my life.
I could use more ignorance in my life. I think.
We all could right now.
Okay, written by Eric Pearson and Joanna Kahlo, as we mentioned. So Pearson actually became part of the MCU's screenwriting program in 2010. So he was like in school and became handpicked to basically be an MCU writer.
Really interesting career path.
Yeah, he's only worked on MCU projects. Started with a series of short films between 2011 and 2013. He did some uncredited rewrites on Ant-Man, which is probably why he put Ghost in this movie. He remembered
who she was,
the characters from the Ant-Man movie. And Spider-Man Homecoming in 2015. His first credited feature work was Thor Ragnarok. It's a good way to start, right?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe my favorite MCU movie. And then he would do more uncredited rewrites. Oh, I guess he has not worked exclusively in the MCU. I lied when I said that.
Okay.
He did some, he's only credited with MCU work, but he's done rewrites on stuff like Pacific Rim Uprising, Detective Pikachu. Remember that? Pikachu had a little hat.
I didn't remember, but I can picture it when you say it.
It looks cute, right?
Yeah.
Close your eyes. Picture. It's cute.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it's great. But then the movie keeps going, and you're like, all right, we've already seen the little hat. I don't know what else there is to do here. He also did some rewrites on Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. Nope, I lied. He also wrote on Godzilla vs. Kong, Transformers 1, Black Widow, Thunderbolts, and Fantastic Four First Steps. He also wrote 8 episodes of Agent Carter, the TV show starring Haley Atwell. So that's also in the Captain America verse, because that's his bae. That's who he settles down with in the future, is Agent Carter. And he's written some versions of the Blade script. Who knows if those will ever see the light of day? There's rumors that they're trying to bring on Jordan Peele to direct it, which would be quite awesome. But also Mahershala Ali, I'm fairly certain, is older now than Wesley Snipes was when he stopped playing the character. And this would be his first appearance. So they really dropped the ball.
How long has he been in the shoot waiting to pop out as Blade? Like years and years now, right?
A decade? Yeah, like close to a decade at this point. It's got to be.
That's crazy.
Yeah, real bummer, because I would love, if you could give me a Jordan Peele directed Blade movie starring Mahershala Ali, I'd be there opening weekend for sure.
Yeah, that'd be something to see.
It's in turnaround. Who knows? He also wrote the upcoming Will Smith action movie, Fast and Loose. I'll probably skip that one. Who knows? And then this is Kahlo's only film work, though she is highly sought after as a TV writer. Worked on shows like BoJack Horseman, Girl Boss, Hacks, Beef, and The Bear, on which she is also an executive producer and director. And her most recent project is the Liev Schreiber and Nicole Kidman drama, The Perfect Couple. She wrote one episode of that show.
Yeah, she's got like quite a pedigree there in pure premium TV shit. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Exactly. And just based on everything she's worked on, seems like a very talented writer.
For sure.
So since Don't Worry, Darling, Pugh has been very busy. She's been in The Wonder, Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, which was honestly a banger.
Was it?
Really fun movie, yeah. A Good Person with her ex-boyfriend, Zach Braff. He wrote and directed that one, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, interesting.
I wonder if that's how they met. Oppenheimer, Boy and the Heron, Dune Part 2, We Live in Time, Thunderbolts. She'll be in Avengers Doomsday and Dune Part 3. I believe her character is meant to have a much larger role in Dune going forward, just based on what I've absorbed through osmosis of people who've read the books.
Yeah, she marries Paul, right?
Yeah.
She's Irulan, the emperor's daughter, who gets married in to give allow Paul to.
That's how Part 2 ends, is with him like proposing the marriage, I think. To
yes. Yeah. And she's in the novels, she's the chronicler of Paul's history, because that's what she's trained as with her Bene Gesserit training and as an emperor's daughter. So the books are full of these quotes from the Princess Irulan's history of Paul Muad'Dib, and she's like the chronicler of his life.
All right, nerd.
I don't know why I felt compelled to just spew all that out, but I deserve that.
It is appreciated, though, as much as I make fun. And she'll also appear in the upcoming East of Eden miniseries for Netflix, which that should be interesting.
Interesting, yes.
You Steinbeck head?
I was a Steinbeck head for a minute, like in my youth. I remember reading Tortilla Flat, My Travels with Charlie, was it called? That was nonfiction. I read read a few of those Steinbecks.
He's a pretty good writer. I don't know if that's a hot take.
No.
I'll
Yeah.
be checking out East of Eden.
People are recognizing him more and more.
Yeah, he's finally getting his due. Let's talk about Stan the Man, Sebastian.
Yeah.
He's been splitting his time between big budget superhero stuff like Captain America Civil War and Captain America Brave New World, another movie we could have talked about, a very bad movie. And I just didn't have the capacity to hate a movie that much right now.
Yeah, I tried to watch it. I got 30 minutes in and I just couldn't keep going.
Really unsuccessful movie. Nothing good to say about it. And then he's also appeared in smaller stuff like Logan Lucky, past episode,
Right.
Fresh, Dumb Money, and A Different Man. Different Man was very good. I think he was nominated for an Oscar for that. Or I think he was nominated for an Oscar for The Apprentice as well, where he
might
played
have been.
a young Donald Trump. A good movie that I'll probably never watch again unless we cover it because it bombed at the box office.
Okay.
He also played Tommy Lee in the 2022 Hulu series, Pam and Tommy.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
What a swing between all those roles.
Did you ever run into Motley Crue on the strip?
No, I probably just missed them, thankfully, because they would have probably drunk driving run me over or something.
Oh, shit. Shots fired at Vince Neil.
Those guys were a fucking hazard. I'm glad I didn't run into them.
I know. I read the dirt. I'm familiar with their trials and tribulations. Next, he'll appear in Avengers Doomsday and Christian Mongo's Romanian family drama Fjord.
Oh, yeah. I love a Romanian family drama. Not enough of those
really.
in theaters these days.
They just don't make them like that anymore. He also has Frankenstein in Romania and Ruins in development. He's really leaning hard into his Romanian roots.
Is he actually Romanian?
Yeah, he was born in Romania. Moved to the U.S., I think, very young. But
okay, that's familiar now that you say that, but I had forgotten that about him.
There is something Eastern European about him. Like he's got that vibe. And he's got Burning Rainbow Farm in pre-production. No idea what that's about. Sounds
weird.
Dope. Yeah.
Yeah.
Late breaking update, Sebastian Stan was just confirmed cast as Harvey Dent in Matt Reeves' The Batman Part 2.
Wyatt Russell, I would call his breakout role 22 Jump Street. And though I didn't realize he has been on the pod before due to a very small role in Cowboys and Aliens.
Didn't remember.
I don't think we shouted him out by name on there. He's balanced comedy and drama. He's been in lighter stuff like Richard Linklater's Everybody Wants Some, Goon, Last of the Enforcers. The Goon movies are great. I'm just throwing that out there.
Okay.
And Ingrid Goes West, the Aubrey Plaza film. Also starred in Cold in July, which was a crime movie starring Dexter, whatever that guy's name is.
We know who you mean.
Shimmer Lake, Night Swim, and Broke. He's probably best known for TV, though. He starred in Lodge 49, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Under the Banner of Heaven, which is very good, and Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, which was pretty bad. He worked with his dad on that one. One of the most boring monster-based projects I think I've ever experienced. How do you make giant monsters that boring? Probably because you don't have the budget to show them often.
Right. Just keep putting them off.
But they're coming back for a second season. I feel like that show's from a different era entirely, but apparently it's coming back.
Interesting.
And he'll next appear in Avengers Doomsday and upcoming Spielberg blockbuster Disclosure Day, which has a very cool trailer, which I'm very excited about.
I heard about it and I have avoided watching it so far.
It does give away a lot. I know that's a pet peeve of yours, so I would avoid it.
Okay, I'll wait.
Louis Pullman, he's been acting since 2013 with roles in Bad Times at the El Royale, Top Gun Maverick, 2024 Salem's Lot, which was very bad. Outer Range, Apple TV miniseries Lessons in Chemistry.
I heard good things about that.
I never even heard of it until now, but I'm curious to check it out. He also appeared in The Testament of Anne Lee in 2025. I know Amanda Seyfried is getting awards buzz for her performance in that movie.
I've been hearing that.
She's a real G. We love Amanda Seyfried. He'll next star in Avengers Doomsday, Spaceballs 2 with his dad.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How nuts is that?
We're going to get Lewis and Bill together.
Is Josh Gad still in charge of that project?
Yes, unfortunately, Josh Gad is still in charge of that project. So take your enthusiasm and tamp it down slightly.
Yeah, well.
But it could be cool. He'll also be in an adaptation of Shelby Van Pelt's novel, Remarkably Bright Creatures, and romantic comedy Wishful Thinking, where he'll co-star with another Nepo baby that we like, Maya Hawke.
That's fun.
Yeah. David Harbour. He's been acting since 1999. That's crazy. But he is kind of
old.
old. So not
a long career.
I think Stranger Things was pretty much where he became a household name.
That's where I first recognized him and learned his name.
But real ball knowers will recognize him from shows like The Newsroom and Banshee.
Everybody's always on Banshee.
We could replace Justified crossover with Banshee crossover if we wanted.
We almost could do it.
He's done franchise fare like Suicide Squad, Black Widow, and The Equalizer, but also smaller movies like No Sudden Move, which fucking rules, and We Have a Ghost. He also played Santa, and this is a fun little tidbit. I think I might have mentioned this in the pod once. Every Christmas Eve, me and my sister, and occasionally my wife, will watch Violent Night, where he plays Santa Claus.
I can picture his face on the poster of that.
It's a fun one, and they're making a sequel. They've already shot the sequel. It's coming out next Christmas, so maybe we'll go to the movies this year for Christmas Eve.
Wow, yeah. How fun would that be?
He's got a lot on the back burner. I have to edit this because I got to take Behemoth off this list because he just dropped out of that.
Oh.
But he's going to be in VN2, GOAT, Avengers Doomsday, and Evil Genius, which is a crime thriller directed by Courtney Cox. And yes, I checked. It is that Courtney Cox. So,
sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Crime thriller. Okay.
The synopsis and the cast and everything has me pretty interested, so I'll check that out when the time comes.
Yeah.
Courtney Cox getting into directing, huh?
It's cool.
Hannah John-Kamen. She's been acting since the early 2010s on TV. Been in a couple Black Mirror episodes. She was in Star Wars The Force Awakens, Ready Player One, Tomb Raider.
Some good titles.
Yeah. Ant-Man and the Wasp. And then like Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City. That's so good.
Okay.
In 2025, she was also in Safe House. And in addition to Avengers Doomsday, she will star in 1 Second After. It is a American sci-fi action thriller, according to Wikipedia. She also had a small role in Game of Thrones and was most recently on TV in Brave New World back in 2020, based on the novel of the same name. So maybe not as busy as the rest of the cast, but getting jobs.
Yeah.
And last but not least, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. She started her acting career in 1982 as a member of SNL. I was not even born.
It's crazy.
She was a longtime member of SNL. She was in 57 episodes, which I think is like 3 seasons worth, maybe.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I did not recall.
She's somehow only been in 21 movies in all those years, but that's probably because she's been so busy on TV.
She was booked for, years and years.
Starred on 2 of the most beloved comedies of the last 50 years with Seinfeld and Veep. Also starred in the well-liked New Adventures of Old Christine. Had a memorable guest arc on Arrested Development.
Yeah.
She was really funny on Arrested Development. But she started moving into movies more frequently since 2020. That was when she starred opposite Will Ferrell in what we'll probably have to cover eventually, the movie Downhill.
Okay.
And then she joined the MCU in 2021. Her only upcoming role is a voice in The Sheep Detectives, though we can expect she'll probably pop up in Avengers Doomsday.
I would not be surprised.
And that wraps up Thunderbolts. Did you want to hear what we're doing next?
Yes, I'm very excited. It's been a great start to the month. Where do we go from here?
I'm not telling, so fuck off.
Oh, okay.
No, we like to, for these special months, we try to keep some mystery, but I think it's safe to say we're sticking with movies we like this year for January.
Okay.
I like this movie a lot. I think I might have watched it 16, 17 times.
Wow, that's serious.
Every time I thought I was done, I just printed out a new version of the movie and watched it again.
No, I think you're really giving it away to anybody who has any idea what happens in it. But
nobody saw it, so no one has any idea what we're talking about.
No, it's a real sleeper, and it's right up our alley. We're going to have fun talking about this one.
Aside from that, just a reminder to please rate, review, and subscribe to the pod on whatever your platform of choice is. We appreciate it. Write us a review.
We do.
Tell a friend. Always like getting new listeners. It's a good feeling. It scratches that itch. It gives your brain the good chemicals.
But we also love the existing listeners who have been faithful to us for so long.
Of course. Yes, I would not do anything to diminish our faithful listeners.
Thank you to all of you.
You can also follow us on Twitter at BlastZonePod. Why you'd want to be on Twitter right now, I don't know. We're just stuck there. But
it's tough.
We're also on Blue Sky. You can find us there, BlastZonePod, if you're so inclined. And you can email us, blastzonepod@gmail.com. If you have any questions, feedback, movie suggestions, or you just want to talk about movies, we'd be happy to hear from you.
Love to hear from you.
And we'll see you next time in the Blast Zone.
See you next time in the Blast Zone.
The Blast Zone.